Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. It's another Monday night and another regional episode. Based on a viewer request, we are talking about sharks of the Gulf of Mexico tonight, which is going to be really exciting in the sense that this is a subtropical to tropical region that has been very well studied. A lot of really cool, exciting species live here, and you can see a couple here on the screen. So we're gonna take a look at kind of the general biodiversity of the Gulf of Mexico, and then also learn more about what the ecoregion is like, the certain factors that contribute to the Gulf of Mexico being what it is, and just how it affects the distribution of sharks that live there. What's really cool is that there's some species in the Gulf that I think are endemic to the Gulf. So I believe there is a smoothhound, and I actually have. I'll probably get it later because I think it's in the other room. But I do have a book, Shark Regional Guide to Sharks of the World, or Sharks of the East Coast of North America, which actually separates the endemic species. So we might have to peruse that later. But it's a really cool area with a lot of great diving opportunities, and we'll see some really cool dive footage tonight, and hopefully we'll see some of the species on that footage. But as you could probably tell, I think before we get started, it is very hot here. It is July 6th in Virginia. This has been a massive heat wave on the east coast of the U.S. And yeah, it's just been really really hot. So it's gonna be, but it's appropriate for tonight's episode in terms of the critters that we'll see in the warm waters of the Gulf. So I think what we'll do first is we'll take a look at this quick overview and just dive in. So, common sharks of the northern Gulf of Mexico. So, there's a difference between northern Gulf of Mexico and southern Gulf. So, northern Gulf, which is primarily the coastline of the United States, is a subtropical area. So, it's technically temperate in the sense that it is very seasonal. It's still influenced by the seasons pretty strongly. But it's so close to the tropics that it's so warm too that you have a lot of really cool tropical species like hammerheads and bull sharks, and overall it's a subtropical area. So estuaries are ecosystems where fresh and saltwater meet and mix. Estuaries provide nursery grounds for a wide variety of invertebrate species such as oysters, shrimp, and blue crabs, along with fin fishes including croaker, red drum, spotted sea trout, tarpon, menhaden, flounder, and many others. What's really cool is like a lot of these same estuarine species, and they're referring to the northern Gulf of Mexico has a lot of estuaries, including the famous Mississippi Delta. In Louisiana, that's an incredible estuary when you think about the amount of connectivity between the inland Mississippi River and how it reaches the ocean. What's wild, by the way, is that the record for bull sharks swimming upriver in North America is actually held by an individual that swam up the Mississippi River all the way to southern Illinois. So it's kind of incredible that that this is an area where a record-breaking bull shark has been found. So it's swimming past Louisiana, Mississippi, and I mean all the way up to Illinois is just so cool. But what's kind of cool about the species they mentioned here, a lot of them are very characteristic estuarine species on the East Coast too. So croaker, red drum, sea trout. Actually, I mean all of these. Tarpon is more of a Florida fish. We sometimes have tarpon in the summer, but that's more of a Florida fish. But everything else is pretty relevant to kind of where I live as well. So because of this abundance, larger animals patrol coastal Gulf waters for food. Among these predators are a number of shark species. The northern Gulf of Mexico is home to several shark species. A few of these species very closely resemble one another and are commonly referred to as sand sharks. So I really appreciate them identifying this. Sand sharks is a terrible term and has been used way too often, unfortunately. I don't know if it's popular elsewhere, but in the United States it's very popular, and it really sucks. It's a bad term. It's kind of like it's the same thing as saying bluegill for any kind of fish you catch in a pond. So you can catch a pumpkin seed and say it's a bluegill. You can catch like a small bass and say it's a bluegill. You catch like a crappie and you say it's a bluegill. It's like this weird catch-all term, and it's kind of infuriating for people who really love fishes and people who really love sharks, where it's just like you kind of want to give each species its fair due. And you want to be accurate in terms of what you're identifying. And aside from being infuriating, it's actually very important conservation-wise. You really do need to be accurate on what you're catching because it relates to the species conservation as a whole, and it also relates to like the United States has pretty extensive shark fisheries limits and prohibitions, and it's actually one of the best in the world, which is really interesting. And related to that, there's incentive for the fishermen to be accurate in terms of like what they're catching too. So sand shark is a terrible term. There is no such thing as a sand shark. It's a catch-all for anything that you can't identify. So there's no such thing as a sand shark species. It's just this has been this bucket term for anything that you can't identify, unfortunately. So this infographic will help you quickly differentiate between the different quote-unquote sand sharks and also help you to identify a few common offshore species. So what's really cool here is we've got a nice comparison of sizes between species. So maximum size of, oops, I'm trying to recenter this so everybody can see it. So maximum size of the coastal sharks are depicted in scale. So there we go. So we've got, looks like that's a sharp-nosed shark in the black over there. I want to say the green one is, green one is a black-nosed shark. Fine-tooth shark is blue. Spinner shark is red. It's kind of cool to see that these are all like medium-sized sharks. Blacktip starts to get a little bit bigger. You got the silky shark, which is a really big species. The bull shark, of course, which is in tan right here, is a really big species. Something I really love is that this graphic accurately shows how large hammerheads get. Hammerheads, especially the great hammerhead, get to be pretty enormous. So scalloped hammerhead is about 10 feet. The great hammerhead is 13 feet. And then finally the tiger shark, which is a massive predatory shark, is about 15 feet. So the Gulf of Mexico technically has every dangerous shark species in the world, because I believe white sharks do go into the Gulf, but they don't spend a lot of time there, just because they prefer colder water, but they can go in there. Oceanic whitetips can go in there too, but that they're not probably as common as in more offshore areas. But bull sharks and tiger sharks are really, really big in Gulf of Mexico. So we'll do a quick overview of each species. We'll just kind of like identify each one. I think we'll do another ecoregion overview in a second too. And then I think we'll dive into the species that are listed here in more detail and see what we can see in terms of diving footage and diving notes with each species. So we've got the black tip shark on the left, Carcharodon lymbatus. So easy ID, pointed snout, anal fin lacks a black tip. So these sharks do have between their snout, their dorsal fins, everything about them looks kind of sharp, which is really cool. And that's a great way to identify them, along with the black tips on the two dorsal fins. And this is a really key feature. The anal fin is white. And this is the thing that you use to separate this species from the spinner shark, Carcharodon brevipinna. So spinner sharks look a lot like black tips, except for the anal fin. This is black. So black tip sharks have white anal fins, and then spinner sharks have a black tip on their anal fin. And ironically, spinner sharks have like more black tips than the actual black tip shark. So spinner sharks are really cool. They leap out of the water and spin in the air, which is where they get their name. We have the Atlantic sharp-nosed shark in the top right corner. These guys are so cool. Rhizopriodon terranovi. Easy ID is the white freckles on the body. These sharks are the most abundant shark on the east coast of the United States. I would say the bonnethead is the second most abundant, but they're both small species that are pretty commonly caught near shore, like by recreational fishermen. But these sharks are really, really cool. They grow really quickly and reproduce really quickly. They're handling fishing pressure extremely well, actually. And I feel like Atlantic sharp-nosed sharks, I say this a lot on the channel, but they're kind of like the poster child of successful sharks or shark evolution. In the face of so much human pressure, just a small species that is able to reproduce so quickly is faring better than a lot of the larger species. So, but really cool shark overall. We got the black-nosed shark, Carcharodon acrodotus. This one's really fun for me because this is not a species that comes up this far north. So it's really fun to see in this Gulf of Mexico special a truly warm water shark. Like black-nosed sharks and Caribbean reef sharks are really truly like subtropical to tropical species, and they don't really come. They migrate, but they don't go that far north. But these guys are really cool. They're a smaller kind of species. The distinguishing feature is a black smudge on the tip of the snout, and apparently they're feisty when caught. We've got the fine-tooth shark over here. This one's really tricky to identify. The easy ID note is distinct lack of black markings on fins, extremely pointed snout, but and I guess that could work. But this one, it looks very, very much like a traditional Carcharodonus sort of shark, and so this one would be really tricky. I'm not gonna lie, as far as like trying to identify the species in the wild. I just feel like fine-tooth sharks would be a little bit difficult. So we have the infamous bull shark. Bull sharks are very easy to identify. They just have this attitude kind of look. It's really hard to describe, but it's just this like it's a species that's dangerous. Like they're very stocky. They're very heavy bodied. They actually have a beautiful dorsal fin that gets to be pretty tall and has like a little bit of a like kind of that classic like Jaws like dorsal fin, where it just something about it, like the height of it, it's kind of a commanding presence. Bull sharks have small eyes, and that's one way to kind of help identify them. But overall, it's like their girth is like the big thing. It's like their stocky bodies, they have the small eyes, they have the blunt snout, and they just have this look about them where you just know this is a shark that you don't want to mess with. Very dangerous species, very common in the Gulf of Mexico. A lot of the shark attacks in the Gulf of Mexico are actually attributed to bull sharks. And again, they enter freshwater. They travel very, very far up, including the Mississippi River. They've been in that river many times, and the furthest record is in Illinois, which is kind of wild to think about. Another dangerous species. This one in this photo is a juvenile, but this is a tiger shark, Gallisuda cuvier. This little guy has these beautiful spots, and they're very distinct when they're pups. But as they get older, they start to fade and become a little bit blurrier. But this is also a dangerous shark species. It's a famous dangerous shark species that gets to be really large. If you compare the sizes of like the fatal four, like the most dangerous shark species, I would say the white shark is the largest, but the tiger shark is the second largest. And then I think a bull shark and a oceanic white tip, they're kind of in the same size tier. But tiger sharks are just pretty large sharks. So famously, they're the garbage cans of the sea. They eat anything. And they're almost specialized to hunt sea turtles, where they have these really unique jaws with the heart-shaped serrated teeth. But the jaws are flexible in such a way that they can wrap their mouths around a sea turtle shell and try to find an angle to kind of crack into it, rip into it. So really cool species of shark, but also, again, very dangerous. We've got the great hammerhead on the right, Sphaeronomacron. These guys are huge. And it's so cool where it's kind of... I don't want to say like the superior hammerhead, but it's just everything about this shark is just like... the dorsal fin is so tall, it is very pointed, very sickle-shaped. It's quite imposing. The hammerhead, or the cephalofoil, is this like broad T-shape, like this solid T that just looks like this really firm mallet that it looks a little bit different than other kinds of hammerhead sharks. And everything about the great hammerhead just looks intimidating. And they're fortunately like not that dangerous really. They hunt primarily squid, rays, and fishes, but it's just they're such a really commanding looking shark. Really cool species, and also a true warm water species too. We technically do get great hammerheads up here, but they're really rare. They're extremely rare, actually. They're probably the rarest hammerhead we would see up here, just because like they prefer to be in warm water. Famously, they're in Bimini in the Bahamas and Florida, A lot of Shark Week specials have great hammerheads in them, so just really cool species overall. Got a couple interesting ones on the bottom here. So we got the scalloped hammerhead, one of my absolute favorites, Sphena lewinii. So these guys could be distinguished by the hammerhead shape, which is a broad arch, or an arc with a prominent, let me see if I can zoom in, a prominent indentation in the center. So it has kind of like a scallop shape overall. If the indentation was smooth, it would be a smooth hammerhead, but for scalloped hammerheads, if there's an indentation right there, then that's what kind of distinguishes this species from other hammerhead species. I like that the scalloped and the great hammerhead are here, but the smooth hammerhead is not, and that's probably because of the fact that smooth hammerheads like cold water, whereas scalloped and great hammerheads, those are, again, true warm water species. They love to be in the tropics and subtropical areas. So I love scalloped hammerheads. I've seen a few in the wild off of Virginia, off of Norfolk Canyon, and they're just beautiful, beautiful sharks. They also hunt squid and fish, and they swim in these schools of up to like maybe even 1,000 individuals. They're just so cool. I'll get to the one in the center in a second. I do want to point out the silky shark, Carcharodon falciformis. These guys are really, really amazing offshore species, so they don't really spend a lot of time in the coast. They like to be in deep, open water, or rather, swimming in the sunlit zone, but over very deep, open water. The thing that helps distinguish them is their small dorsal fin. It's very far back on the body, and it has this unique shape that's kind of small and very rounded. And overall, silky sharks have kind of like this elegant, elongated shape too, so they're kind of unmistakable. For other identifiers, they have an interdorsal ridge along the back, and then silky smooth skin, which is pretty interesting. It's something about the way that the dermal denticles are arranged, creating like a smooth texture. It's pretty interesting. Finally, we have a gulper shark, Centrophos granulosus. These are very rare shark species that live in the very deep water. So they're cousins of dogfish, but they're kind of like their own thing. They can be distinguished by a luminous green eye, but also their look is just very different. They do not have an anal fin. They have dorsal fin spines. Two spines are pretty prominent on the dorsal fins. I'm not sure if gulper sharks have venom in their spines. I know that dogfish do, but yeah, even so, it's just a really cool deep water species, and it's kind of fun to see, in regard to the Gulf of Mexico, because there's a lot of deep water areas beyond the shelf, and the gulper sharks are probably hanging out around the shelf overall. As far as habitat, I'm just going to kind of zoom in, or scroll back up. Blacktip sharks are a great coastal species. Atlantic sharpnose sharks are true coastal and estuarine species. These guys can be found in any shallow body of water, as long as it's salty enough. But these guys are found very close to the surf zone. Spinner sharks are also a coastal species. Blacknose sharks are coastal. Fine-tooth is coastal. Bull sharks are really amazing in that they're coastal and estuarine, again, swimming up the rivers. They love to be in mesohaline areas, at least up here, like in Chesapeake Bay area and Pamlico Sound. Bull sharks like to be right in the middle of salinity. They don't like true fresh water as much as moderately salty water. They also don't like true ocean water either. They like that little zone, and that's why you actually see a lot of reports of bull sharks at the mouth of the Potomac River. It's just because that's exactly where they want to be. Is that weird? It's that middling salty zone that's not quite fresh, not quite marine. It's somewhere in the middle. So I'm sure it's different in other parts of the world, but here, at least in the Chesapeake Bay and the Mid-Atlantic, it's that moderately salty zone. But for the Gulf of Mexico, I'm sure it's a bit similar. But the fact that bull sharks can go that far up the Mississippi to even reach Illinois probably means they have a better tolerance for true fresh water here than in other parts of the world. Tiger sharks, classic coastal species, and great hammerheads, also coastal species as well. Great hammerheads do migrate really long distances, and I want to say they may spend some time offshore. I know scalloped hammerheads for sure. They cover everything. They cover coastal areas, some estuaries, and then definitely offshore areas. I think great hammerheads could be found offshore as well. Silky shark is a true oceanic species, so most of the sharks on this chart are near the coastline, but the silky shark would be farther away, again over the deep water. And then the gulper shark is the only shark on the chart here that is a true deep water shark species, like a shark that can be found in the twilight zone, probably migrates to the sunlit zone at night, but then goes back down in the twilight zone during the daytime. So, just to kind of paint a better picture of the Gulf of Mexico, we've got this really nice summary. I believe this is from. I want to say this is from NOAA, but I'm not 100% sure. But this will give a nice little summary of like kind of what the Gulf is all about, or the northern Gulf of Mexico is all about as a protected area or as a region. So, the northern Gulf of Mexico ecoregion extends from the Mexican coast to Tampa, Florida, which is where I used to live. The Gulf of Mexico is a semi-enclosed sea with tropical currents entering from the Caribbean Sea through the Yucatan Channel. This loop current transports fish, larvae, and juveniles throughout the region. The area supports significant biodiversity of marine resources in a region that is highly impacted by human activities. The Gulf is a major center for oil and gas development, including exploration, extraction, shipping, service, construction, and refining operations. The ecoregion is also lined with major population centers such as Corpus Christi, Galveston, Houston, New Orleans, Mobile, and Tampa that exert considerable stress on their watersheds. The ecoregion is characterized by a broad continental shelf and shallow water, although it also includes a significant amount of continental slope areas and a small amount of very deep waters. So 3,000 meters is deep into the midnight zone. So as far as like a cool protected areas, so places that you may be able to see some great wildlife across the Gulf of Mexico, we've got Padre Island, Aransas, Big Boggy, these are national wildlife refuges, San Bernard, Brazoria, Flower Garden Banks National Marine Sanctuary. This is a really cool place, and let me actually see if I can find it. The national marine sanctuaries are the underwater equivalents of national parks, and they're just beautiful, beautiful places. Let's see if we can get. I'm hoping I can get. Offshore conditions, fishing charters. What will I see? Okay, so what will I see in the Flower Garden banks? We've got the marble grouper here. Typical dive begins with a leap in crystal blue waters. Upon submerging, you're immediately greeted by several barracuda keeping a watchful eye. So really great warm water species. Barracudas being famous predators. I love the look of barracudas in the sense that they look really scary, but they're not. They're pretty harmless overall, as long as you don't have jewelry on, like anything flashy. Technically, we do have a couple we actually do have barracudas up here, but I've snorkeled with sennets, which are really small kinds of barracudas. So they're not like the great barracuda, which is like in these photos, but it's a cool group of fish. We've got schools of chub and jack. They may pass through this area. So horseye jacks in this photograph. Looking down, you can already make out the reef 60 feet below. Huge coral heads stretch as far as the eye can see. You can't see much detail at this point, so you just keep diving as you enter the Flower Garden banks. What an amazing area, by the way. And again, something really cool about the northern Gulf of Mexico is that this is the beginning of tropicality. So this is really, not true tropical waters, but you're getting so close to the edge here. As you approach the top of the reef, you start to see all the fish. Many hover near the corals, waiting to duck for cover should the need arise. And there's so much coral that you can hardly believe your eyes. Boulders of coral pile up on one another, creating an amazing seascape. as much as 52% of the bottom is covered in live coral. So, as a refresher, coral is an animal. So these are closely related to sea anemones. They're kind of like microscopic sea anemones that all have like linked up together, and they make these like really cool and beautiful exoskeletons of. Well, the material of coral is made up of the exoskeletons of these creatures. Colorful sponges, large and small, fill many of the spaces between and around corals. These are really beautiful sponges, the bright orange ones. Blue head wrasse, blue and brown chromis, and a variety of damselfish are the most common fish species atop the reef. So this fish right here is the blue head wrasse, which is really, really gorgeous, striking coloration. I'm not sure what these little guys are. They might be juveniles or female blue head wrasse, but I'm not 100% sure. We've got a parrotfish. You should also keep an eye out for the colorful butterfly fish and parrotfish. You might even hear parrotfish before you see them due to the crunchy noises they make while eating algae off the reef. So this is a queen parrotfish. These fish are completely gorgeous, and we unfortunately don't have any. I don't think we have any up here. The closest we have is the tautog, which is a distant cousin of parrotfish. But I mean, true tropical parrotfish, you have to go down to the Gulf or Florida, the Caribbean, to see these beautiful, beautiful fishes. We also got groupers, so really great apex predators of a reef system. This one's a yellowmouth grouper. Moray eels, so this is a spotted moray. Really, really fun animal living in nooks and crannies. We got shrimp, so this is a red night shrimp. So lots of good food for the sharks in this area. A black point sculling crab. I don't think I've ever seen this species before. Interesting. Christmas tree worms. So if anybody is a fan of Avatar, hey Tim, welcome back. Good to see you. Sorry, I just saw your comment. Hope you had a great weekend. And I think you're in the United States, so happy 4th of July. What's funny is my brother's birthday is on the 4th, so I visited him last weekend and just had a fun time catching up and just relaxing overall. It was a really fun, just chill weekend. My wife and I just watched a bunch of movies, and then we just saw family. So, but I hope you had a good time, and good to see you again. So, Christmas tree worms. Speaking of movies, if anybody likes the Avatar movies, like the James Cameron Avatar movies, James Cameron intentionally borrowed a lot of creature designs from his own ocean adventures, and Christmas tree worms are a big influence for some of the animals in Pandora. There's plants. There's plants in Pandora that will kind of shrink into these like little shoots, and that directly is inspired by Christmas tree worms. These are these beautiful worms that have these like, I want to say these are the worm's gills that fan out kind of like a Christmas tree, but then when they get frightened, they retract really quickly into their tubes. So, very unusual, really cool, and very colorful group of animals. We have polyps of great star coral. So, and you can actually really see the resemblance to sea anemones in like each of the polyps. Kind of looks like the mouth of an individual sea anemone, and that is related to their lineage. And here we go. This is actually a lot clearer. These are more coral polyps extending their tentacles, so for collecting food. So you can really, really see the resemblance to sea anemones here. Eventually arrive at an open sand flat or even a sand channel. Got a beautiful loggerhead sea turtle. So probably, I want to say these are arguably the most populous turtle in the United States, East Coast. The loggerhead will probably take the cake. I've seen a couple. I think both of them have been offshore. So actually, no, I've seen one nesting in South Carolina. So in South Carolina, and probably all along the Gulf of Mexico too, on moonlit nights in the summer. There's a certain window of time where these turtles will actually haul themselves out on the beach, If you ever are in an area with nesting sea turtles, it's very important to remain absolutely still and give them a lot of distance. It's tempting to go up to them, but that actually can scare them, and they can actually go back into the ocean prematurely before they laid all their eggs, and that's not what we want them to do. We want them to be comfortable and nest very comfortably when they do so. So if you are lucky enough to see a sea turtle at night, just give it a lot of space and just make sure it doesn't see you, so that it can do, because it's a mother sea turtle who's there to lay her eggs. But really, really cool animals. And loggerheads get pretty big too. And this might be. I'm curious if this is maybe one of the chief prey items for tiger sharks that are in the Gulf. So. Got lizardfish, which are pretty cool, a creepy group of fish where they have these like really big mouths with needle-shaped teeth. So shallow water lizardfish are pretty colorful, but deep water ones get really freaky. We have jawfish. I'm sure people have seen this before. So, oh, happy Fourth! Heard it was hotter up the Fourth up north than down here in Houston. Yeah, it was rough. It's you can probably tell I'm a little sweaty right now. It's just because our AC unit it's just dying. It's been trying to keep things cool, and it's not really quite working. Unfortunately, it's starting to get a little better today, but over the weekend it hit like 101, and then but the actual like feeling is 110 with the humidity and stuff. So it was bad. It was pretty bad. So, but it's getting a little cooler now. We started to get some thunderstorms, which is great. So I think it's going to be a cooler evening. Jawfish are really fun. So this is a yellowhead jawfish. This species is it's a fish that has these like burrows, and they pop up vertically to kind of look around. They'll move little pebbles with their mouths, and they're kind of adorable little fish, and very quizzical looking. So manta rays. This is so cool. Over 80 individual manta rays have been identified in the sanctuary. They're identified by the patterns on their bellies. So these are enormous elazabranchs, so distant cousins of sharks. Really, really, really cool animals that are plankton feeders. So they use their horns to funnel plankton into their mouths, and it's incredible how large it could be. I want to say the wingspan is about 20 feet long at maximum. It's a mind-boggling animal. I've never seen a wild one, but I've seen captive ones, and I'm just shocked how big they can get. So, some other dive notes: jellyfish here, and then another really great photo of a manta ray cruising near the bottom. A really good photo of barracuda that it looks so weird because the barracuda are close to the camera. They're obviously not that big, but they look like they're dwarfing the divers just because of the angle. But yeah, Flower Garden Banks. I'm gonna post this in the chat if anybody wants to take a look, because it's a really incredible national marine sanctuary in this area. In the Gulf of Mexico. And I think we actually do have a couple of dive clips, so I'm gonna hop around just because like this is a pretty long one. But I want to see if we can see any sharks in any shots here, because this dive is taking place essentially in the same area in the Gulf, and regardless, it's still a good good approximation of like what part of the Gulf of Mexico looks like, and in terms of like what you'll be seeing, and what kind of animals live in this environment. So we have the descent here in really good visibility. This is really clear water actually, and again, this is technically a temperate zone, so to have like this kind of clear water in a temperate environment is pretty astounding. I'm going to skip ahead so we can look at or pay attention to more of animals or the environment. So here's the seabed with this beautiful coral structure and a lot of fish hovering around, concentrated around these corals and sponges. A lot of great places for fish to hide. And what's kind of interesting about a lot of scuba diving is it's depending on where you go. If it's a place like this, which great visibility, great dive, a lot of fish, a lot of activity, you may not see a shark. Since sharks like to be in deeper water during the daytime, typically. Oh, there's a gorgeous parrotfish right there. Sharks like to be in deeper water, typically in the daytime, and they'll come into the shallows at night. And unfortunately, a lot of this is really really cool fish over here. There's actually a lot going on. A lot of divers want to go look for sharks, but may have a hard time finding them, just because they don't really. They don't they generally don't come out as often in the daytime versus nighttime. But again, it just depends on where you are, of course. So I say that just as in general. Like anytime I've been snorkeling or diving in most areas, I don't really quite expect to see a shark. I want to, but I don't really quite expect it because it's far more common to find fishes and invertebrates and actually skates and rays. I feel like skates and rays are a lot more common. Beautiful surgeonfish right there. Not a great reef fish in this environment. Lionfish in the bottom left. So obviously it's a rich maintaining life. So I'm gonna skip ahead just to see if we got any sharks. And I'll just do this for a couple minutes, and if we don't see anything, then we'll kind of go back to the guides on sharks in the Gulf of Mexico in general. So in this kind of environment, in a reef kind of environment, you could see a lot of different kinds of species. So from the guide, could be a good spot for black-nose sharks. Definitely could be a good spot for bull sharks too. Black-tip sharks, probably sharp-nosed sharks. A lot of the coastal species, they do have a broad range of habitat where they could be in muddy estuarine areas or they can be in reef areas. Although it didn't mention it, sand tiger sharks like coral reefs as well. Oh, this is a really interesting fish here. That's a kind of parrotfish. I'm not sure what species that is. But wouldn't you love to dive this? This is such a beautiful place. And like look how well preserved it is too, in terms of like there's so much coral and there's so much and this is great too, because it's the Gulf of Mexico where, this is where some of the most infamous marine disasters have happened, like Deepwater Horizon and the BP oil spill. But still, like, you can have these amazing areas that, as far as I can see, is just like endless seabed of coral. With all these like fish, and it's a great showcase of why marine sanctuaries are important and just the value and the beauty that they bring. And this is offshore of the southern U.S. coast. This is not a far off destination. This is incredible diving right here, which is so cool. Let's see. I'm gonna skip ahead again. I think this video has multiple dives in multiple locations in the Gulf, so this is an interesting place where we're kind of getting into more of a sand flat adjacent to the reef. So we're seeing, it looks like triggerfish, and actually look at the way that these fish are moving. It's kind of cool, and there's a barracuda right there too. But it's kind of cool how they alternate their dorsal and their anal fin kind of interchangeably, and it's a very unique way of moving that's limited to triggerfish, pufferfish, porcupine fish. I think trunkfish move this way too, but it's kind of cool. It's one way to distinguish this group of fishes from others. "83 feet, 81 degrees, so beautiful warm water environment." Nice floating mass of barracuda here. So pretty good size. Still don't see any sharks. Moving ahead to... Oh, nope, not a bowl of strawberries. Sorry. Um, Moving ahead to a different location in the Gulf, there is an oil rig, and sometimes oil rigs could be good locations to look for silky sharks. So, do want to take a look at this. This is... Oh, that's actually a really cool environment. So, an unbelievable amount of fish here. Make sure this is not going too fast. No playback speed. Okay. Immediately you can see a really complex community built right on the rig itself. So you have all these sponges and corals. You have damselfish, some wrasses, a hogfish I want to say is in the corner. Some sergeant majors. These fish are actually really tough. They are very bitey. I think I've been bitten twice by a sergeant major. So they're small, but they're very feisty fish. Now it's funny. Like I was on a shark dive too. I was in a the North Carolina Aquarium on Roanoke Island, and there's these huge sand tiger sharks and sandbar sharks. And of all the things that could have bitten me in the tank, it was Sergeant Major. Like these like feisty tiny fish that are just very brave and just yeah. I'm always gonna remember. They're the stripy ones, like the ones with the stripes. This is also a really interesting environment to dive in, where it's a man-made structure, but every bare foot of new habitat, it's a place for animals to kind of colonize, and it's kind of interesting where when you get into complicated structures like this, it's this weird paradox, right? Where oil rigs are destructive in so many ways, and yet the actual structure supports these really rich communities of fishes. It's a really complex ecosystem that wasn't there, which is kind of fascinating to think about. And actually, if you are ever at sea, if you see anything floating in the water, keep your eye on it. Because usually any kind of fishes love structure, no matter what. So any kind of thing that you see, sometimes is attractive to a bunch of different fishes. And typically what it is that a lot of animals like these worms and corals and sponges that we're seeing here, they latch on to floating structures or fixed structures, and they colonize them, and they actually provide food for fishes that swim up to them. So, and you can see it's incredible how much life there is here, like how much is going on. So I'm gonna zoom ahead one more time because again, silky sharks like these places. Hoping to see some kind of shark. We just might not. I don't see anything. Okay, I think the last clip before we get back to shark studies is a loggerhead sea turtle. So great to see. Largest animal we've seen so far on this particular piece of dive footage, but still lovely to see these animals swimming in the water. Oh, also, oh, did it pause? Oh, I see. Okay. I just saw your comments. The water near shore in Galveston has lots of sediment, silt, and suspension. Pretty much looks like muddy water. Does that affect shark behavior? That's a great question. Follow up: does the level of water sediment affect oxygenation? So, I think there's a few videos showing shark shoals around the oil rigs, but not underwater, just looking down for the platform. So, really cool because I know there's a couple that have silky sharks in particular love like the oil rigs, so or they love being near them. So I think I've seen a couple clips, but I'm not sure. There probably are in the Gulf, but I wasn't 100% sure. But to answer your question, so sedimentation, it's interesting because it is a big problem for a lot of environments, and a lot of fishes don't like it. It's really fascinating to say that about Galveston because where I am in the Chesapeake Bay, we have a lot of sediment issues. And it's gotten better, but sediment pollution has been a really big problem, and for a couple of reasons. One being we do have a lot of dredging, especially around Hampton Roads. There's a lot of we have the Norfolk Naval Base there, and also shipping channels to Baltimore, to Richmond, and to Washington. And with that, there's just a lot of dredging to kind of keep the channels deep for ships to go up. And in that, there's a lot of sediment suspension that makes the water more cloudy. And then on top of that, we have so much development inland where you have just all these houses and these places that kind of like farms that kind of disrupt forests, which forests are natural like buffers for rivers. Like they absorb a lot of like nutrients. They lock soil into place. If you clear trees for housing and clear trees for farming, the soil could be a bit looser and it could just like fall into the water more easily. And ultimately, the compounding effect is that you have more sediment suspended in the water. So it is a kind of pollutant in the sense that a lot of fishes don't really like it. It's not. It's just not that great because it's just suspended sediment particles that the fish are breathing or eating. So that's not great. That being said, a lot of sharks are adapted to be hunting in murky water, and there are river systems that are naturally murky. So when you think of sharks like bull sharks, and pig eye sharks too, as well as winghead sharks, and then the true river sharks like glyphis sharks, they have like these small eyes and these kind of like unique adaptations, like the ability to osmoregulate so that is that a shark by the way? Osmoregulate so that they can transition from saltwater to freshwater. There's adaptations of each of these animals that help them hunt in murky river environments, and they kind of use it as a camouflage, and it's probably helpful for them in a weird way. So I would say overall sediment pollution is a problem, but there are animals that are adapted to be hunting in murky water anyway, and bull sharks are the most famous I could think of. Just everything about them is stealth and using their senses, even if they can't see, to lock in on a prey item. So, but that's a really good question. As far as oxygenation, I'm not actually sure how sediment may affect that, because I think a big part of, and speaking from the Chesapeake Bay perspective, a big part of oxygenation problems is we have a kind of cascading effect with we have a lot of farms and actually I guess like suburban housing that uses like fertilizer that inputs a lot of what do you call it, like eutrophication is the issue, where we have a lot of fertilizer or things that kind of help plants grow that's dumped into the bay, and in so doing, it creates a lot of phytoplankton blooms, which sounds like a great thing, except there's too much of it. There's too much algae blooming and too much phytoplankton blooming, and what happens is that when those phytoplankton and algae die, bacteria decompose their cells, and the massive amount of that happening consumes a lot of oxygen. And in that process, you create these environments called dead zones, where there's no oxygen left for other animals like fishes and crabs. And the Chesapeake Bay has a really infamous dead zone right in the middle of it. It's not near the headwaters, and it's not near the mouth of the bay. It's right in the middle. Ironically, I talked about the mouth of the Potomac River before, but like, it's actually right at the mouth of the Potomac River. It's somewhere in the middle there, around Tangier Island and where the Potomac is, and I think maybe, I don't know about Solomon's, but somewhere right in the dead center of the bay. On the bottom is a terrible dead zone that appears every summer, and that kind of also hints at how it's ultimately related to phytoplankton growth and algal blooms, just because of the increased solar energy and then the nutrients that are unnaturally loaded into the system. You have this massive growth followed by this massive decomposition that unfortunately consumes a lot of oxygen, and it stresses a lot of animals out. So blue crabs are very sensitive to it. Fishes, like flatfishes, are very sensitive to it. So it's been a problem, and it's getting better and better. The bay is very, very slowly recovering, which is great. There's a lot of promising signs, but there's a lot of work to do as well. So, but yeah, looks like no sharks in the video, so I think we'll go back to learning about which species spend their time in the Gulf in general. So, sharks of the Gulf of Mexico. These guys look like, it's hard to tell from the glare, but I want to say these are definitely requiem sharks, and I want to say they're either Caribbean reef sharks or maybe silkies. It's kind of hard to, or blacktip sharks. It's hard to tell from this angle. I'm going to bet Caribbean reef, but we'll see. Let's see. I'm just going to breeze through this because this is more of like a article. A 14-foot great white shark was found swimming along the Texas coast in late February. A satellite pinged off the tagged female Libeth, which surfaced at the southern tip of the Padre Island National Seashore and again near South Padre Island. She has since made her way down to Mexico. Okay. Shark species commonly found in the Gulf. This looks like a sharpnose shark. Is this a sharpnose shark? Yep, there we go. Atlantic sharpnose shark. I had to think for a second because the dorsal fin is a little bit farther back on the body, but the white spots gave it away. Beautiful photo of one, by the way, too. So, the Atlantic sharpnose shark is one of the most commonly found sharks in the Gulf of Mexico. It can be identified by its slender body and gray-brownish color that is sprinkled with white dots. The species is found at many depths. They come closer to shore, bays, estuaries, river mouths for mating in late spring and early summer, and birthing live young in the following summer. These sharks are viviparous, meaning they give birth to live young, and mothers nourish the growing embryos internally through the placental sac. They feed on bony fish, shrimp, and mollusks. They are heavily fished commercially for meat and also face a threat of bycatch from shrimp fisheries. Alright, this, I could confidently say, is a blacktip shark. Yeah, these are blacktip sharks. And again, the way you can tell is everything is pointed. Like, the dorsal fin is uniquely very, very pointed. Pectoral fins are pointed. The snout's pointed. They just have like a sharp looking appearance. So from a glance, you can kind of, like, this genus of sharks is hard to identify, but blacktips you can kind of get just based on their general shape. They look a little bit unique in that way. Another shark found along beaches, bays, and estuaries and river mouths is the Atlantic blacktip shark. They also give live birth in shallow water nurseries after 11 to 12 month gestation period. Unlike the sharpnose sharks, though, this species is bigger and can grow up to 6 feet long. They are gray or gray-brown color and have a wedge-shaped band that is obvious against the lower white side. While their pectoral, dorsal, and tail fins all have black tips, it is more inconspicuous fin that helps people identify the Atlantic blacktip shark. Its anal fin is white, and this feature distinguishes it from the commonly confused spinner shark, whose anal fin has a black tip. It's also confused with the spinner shark because of its similar behavior to leap out of the water when hunting schools of fish, although not to the extent of the spinner shark. Interestingly, Atlantic blacktip sharks are known to aggregate in groups of males and groups of females in the mating off-season before they come together in early summer to breed. According to NOAA, the Atlantic blacktip shark is a management success story. Back in 1998, the species was overfished, so NOAA implemented restrictions on commercial fisheries and eventually separated the species into the Gulf of Mexico stock and Atlantic stock for their assessments. Now, neither stock is overfished, and the rebound has been enough to support 4 times the original harvest. Interesting. Okay, this... Ooh, this one's tricky. Okay, this one's tricky. So... Alright, so this is a pup of some kind. And... Okay, so the reason why I'm pausing is that, and this really puts me to shame, this shark in this photograph has very, very obviously black tips, and actually really black fins, black blotches on the lower pectoral fins. But the shape of the fins makes it look like a bull shark pup. And I know that bull shark pups do have black tips on their dorsal fins, and they fade when they get older. But I mean, these blotches look so strong that I almost want to say it's not a bull shark. It almost looks like a Caribbean reef shark just because the coloration is so strong. But I feel like this article is going to say it's a juvenile bull shark, and it's just that the snout is rounded. The dorsal fin looks a lot like a bull shark's dorsal fin. So I think it's either a bull shark or a juvenile bull shark or a Caribbean reef shark. I'm going to guess bull shark, but let's see what this is. Okay, they say this is a spinner shark. Oh my gosh. It shows you how difficult... Hold on. It shows you how difficult these sharks are hard... How difficult sharks are to tell apart. It's just... What's throwing me off is the snout. It doesn't look like a spinner shark snout. Hold on. We're going to do some comparisons. Hold on. That's putting me to shame. Hold on. Okay, spinner shark, bull shark, and then Caribbean reef shark. Where are you? There you are. Nope, sorry, that's not it. Okay, so they're saying this is a spinner shark. Let me show you why that's throwing me off. So this is a spinner shark in this photograph. This is by Andy Murch. We love Andy Murch and his photography from Elasmo Diver. And this is a really pointed looking shark with a pretty low dorsal fin comparatively. Although I guess in this angle this looks a little bit different. But let's see. I just don't think... I mean, the snout is so pointed on spinner sharks. I just think the shark in that... Look at that. Like the snout on this shark is really pointed, and the tips of the fins are... Like the black tips are very small, whereas the shark in this photograph has a broadly rounded snout and really large blotches on the fins. So I actually want to say this is a misidentification. I know this particular shark is spinning out of the water, but that does not... Let me know... Oh, shoot. I'll go back to the spinner shark. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, because I really don't think that's a spinner. Just because, like... There we go. Like, this is a spinner. This is definitely a spinner, just like with the pointed snout, but that does not look like it to me. So I think it's a misidentification, but I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, because I think that might be a mistake. For comparison, we've got a bull shark here. And see, this guy looks just a lot stockier, much like a bull shark. It probably doesn't have the same coloration on the fins, though. Beautiful shark species, by the way. Well, this one actually has a little bit of a darkness on the pectoral fins here. This almost really looks like a juvenile bull shark, because, like, again, the pups do have distinctive markings. Yeah, look at that. So this bull shark actually has pretty conspicuous, like pretty large, dusky blotches. I think this might be a bull in this photograph. Let's see, but like a baby bull. Let's see. And then for good measure, let's take a look at the Caribbean reef shark, which also lives in the Gulf of Mexico. It's great that Andy has these photographs, by the way, just because they're so well detailed and they kind of help with identification. So it looks like the Caribbean reef shark also has pretty large dusky blotches on its lower pectoral fins. And it also has a rounded snout, too. But this shark's fins look a bit broader. Yeah, I'm gonna guess that the shark in the photograph is actually a bull shark. I'm just gonna go on record and say I think this is a bull, and I think it's spinning out of the water, but I do think this is a bull, but like a bull shark pup. So I'll just read the description, but I dispute that this is a spinner. I don't think this is a spinner shark. So, but here we go, spinner shark. The most notable characteristic of spinner shark is the way it swims rapidly upward through a school of fish, snapping its body at them before leaping and spinning up to 3 times on the water when it attacks. They showcase this unique skill when feasting on swarm fish, tuna, mollusk, and other, or I guess fish swarms, tuna, mollusk, and other fish with narrow teeth better for small prey. Spinner sharks have similar coloration to the previous 2 sharks on our list, with a white band along their sides and black tipped fins. They average about 6 feet in length and grow roughly 2 inches per year, a faster growth rate than many other sharks. They often form groups and are highly migratory amongst warm water regions. Let's see. Spinner sharks face significant fishing pressure as well as habitat loss in shallow waters used for nurseries. Okay. This shark, I know this is a scalped hammerhead. The angle almost looks like a great hammerhead because the fin is so high, and this almost looks like a flat T-shape, but I believe this is scalped hammerhead. Hammerhead sharks. There are multiple species of hammerhead sharks that can be found in the Gulf of Mexico, including the great hammerhead, scalped hammerhead, and bonnethead. The great hammerhead is the largest of these, reaching lengths up to 15 to 20 feet. They are also the longest living with a lifespan of up to 40 years. They have a very large dorsal fin, and both their eyes and nostrils are located on either side of the hammer-shaped head, called a cephalofoil. They like to feed along the seafloor on prey like stingrays, groupers, and catfishes. Great hammerheads have even been observed to pin stingrays down to the seafloor using their head while they spin around to bite their wings. They travel alone and are highly migratory and are critically endangered. The scalloped hammerhead is smaller than the great hammerhead and has notches and indentations along the cephalofoil that mimic a scallop. Like all hammerheads, scalloped hammerheads are live-bearing or viviparous, meaning that they bear live young and nourish embryos using the yolk sac. They are also found in groups with seasonal aggregation seen in the Gulf of Mexico, sometimes including hundreds of sharks. They prey on stingrays, smaller sharks, grunts, and invertebrates, and are critically endangered due to threats including overfishing for the shark meat and fin trade, caught as bycatch, low reproductive rates, and lacking regulation. The bonnethead, also nicknamed shovelheads, is the smallest of the hammerheads, reaching only about 4 feet in length, although they grow at a faster rate. They eat small invertebrates and fishes, having a particular taste for blue crabs. Uniquely, bonnetheads are the only species of shark to exhibit... Oh, this is actually really cool. I was reading about this recently. They're the only... And actually, this is not true. And I'll explain why. Uniquely, bonnetheads are the only species of shark to exhibit sexual dimorphism. That's actually not true, but there's multiple species that do that. But this means that there is a difference in characteristics between males and females of the same species. For bonnetheads, it's the shape of the head. They also have among the shortest gestation period known of all sharks, at around 5 months. Typically, bonnetheads are found in groups of around 15 individuals, but these groups can be bigger during migration and divide by sex during spawning. They are considered quite shy and harmless to humans. So, Sand devils are another shark that have sexual dimorphism. So male sand devils have thorny pectoral fins, and female sand devils actually have smooth pectoral fins. I'm sure there's other sharks that have sexual dimorphism. I think there is a species that has sexual dimorphism in the teeth, where males and females, it's one of them has narrower teeth and the other has broader teeth, but I forget which species that is. But I do know that sand devils also exhibit sexual dimorphism, so that claim about the bonnethead being the only one is not quite true. So, thank you, Tim. Just saw your comment. Think it's a bull too. Let me go back to it. I appreciate that because sorry, I went too far ahead. It really looks like one. And the big things are, I know juveniles can have the black tips on their fins, or the dusky shading on the underside. You've got the rounded snout. You do have a heaviness in the body. You do have a pretty broadly triangular dorsal fin, which is a bull shark characteristic. And this, it's hard to tell. This does look like a nearshore environment, but that's, it's hard to tell, of course. But yeah, I think it's a bull. But yep. Well. I mean, here's the thing too. I just noticed, by the way, this does have a dark tip on the anal fin, which I know is a spinner shark trait. Let's check to see if any bull sharks can have that trait too. So bull sharks can have darker anal fins, but it's not necessarily like a black tip so far. Because I see darker coloration, but I don't know. Okay, there you go. Yeah, this individual actually has noticeably darker coloration on the anal fin, so I'm still going to stick with the fact that it's a bull shark. I think it's a bull shark too. So. Oh, tiger shark. Here we go. Okay. Tiger shark. So great photograph of a tiger here. Now this one's an adult. You can tell just by the size, but also how faded the markings are on the back. So, and beautiful female tiger shark. Beautiful individual. We talked about this multiple times on the channel, but I just think it's so cool. Tiger sharks have recently been reclassified into their own family. They're just very unusual sharks. Their method of reproduction is a little bit different or actually noticeably different than other kinds of requiem sharks. So they've been reclassified into their own unique family of one. There's only one tiger shark in the world. Galeocertidae is the family. There used to be multiple kinds of tiger sharks in the fossil record, but now there's only Galeocertida cuvier is the only surviving species. Very intimidating shark. We've all heard of these, and we all know them by the dark vertical stripes that appear on the young tiger sharks' bodies. They grow over 18 feet in length. I think that's probably the maximum size. They're known to be curious creatures and some of the least picky eaters around. While they feed mainly on marine critters, like fish, stingrays, and turtles, they've also been known to eat license plates, tires, and cans. Uniquely, tiger sharks are the only sharks of the family... okay, so this is outdated. This isn't wrong, it's just outdated. But I do appreciate that the author is drawing attention to the fact that tiger sharks reproduce just differently. So if you haven't seen our tiger shark episode, this is one of our special episodes with our friend Dr. Jess Myers. Jess has actually worked with tiger sharks, and she had a lot of great commentary on how tiger sharks reproduce. So if you haven't seen it yet, please go check it out on the channel. We have a couple... I think I have my own playlist of special episodes with guests, and Jess was the guest for the tiger shark episode. So I could think of no better person because she's worked with them before, and she was fantastic with just shark knowledge. So please go check it out if you haven't seen that episode. However, these eggs hatch internally and the pups... Oh, yeah, sorry. More tiger shark reproduction. I'm going to defer it to the episode. Tiger sharks are near threatened due to the similar threats we have seen before, overfishing for their fins and liver oil, along with a low reproductive rate. They're also on many beach protection lists as a species to kill control, given their higher numbers of attacks on humans, though still very rare, second to great white sharks. Other species found in the Gulf include the black-nosed shark, the blue shark, which wasn't on our chart. That's a really beautiful offshore species, so also a species that's in the same range as the silky shark. Thresher shark was not on our chart either, so it's great to see that. The fine-tooth shark, the lemon shark, which is a beautiful coastal species, and the nurse shark. These actually get really large, but nurse shark's the famous aquarium sharks that are kind of like these large couch potatoes. They're really, really cool sharks that are voracious lobster hunters, but just overall pretty harmless and just really cool. So I think just general, let's see. This is actually kind of interesting. So protecting sharks. Texas has taken a few steps to protect our misunderstood neighbors. In 2015, Texas joined 9 other states in banning the sale, purchase, transport, and possession of shark fins with intent to sell. Later in 2022, the shark fin trade was officially banned in the United States. Despite the ban, shark finning and shark fin possession still occurred often in Texas, leading to Texas Senate Bill 1839, passed late last year, which strengthened and clarified restrictions on shark finning. Commercial fishing management continues today, with regulations such as which species are allowed to be caught, size limitations for catch and gear, regional boundaries, and more. However, it is difficult to enforce these regulations, and humans still widely fear sharks. The sentiment is backwards when you think about how many sharks kill humans every year. How many sharks humans kill every year, and interferes with creating widespread conservation support many shark species need to save their populations. We applaud the work of conservation groups such as Shark Stewards, Oceana, Ocean Foundation, Humane Society International, Saving the Blue, and many more. Okay. So, very, very nice little article summarizing some of the more popular species in the Gulf of Mexico. Let's see what else we can see in terms of Gulf shark notes. So, and this is an interesting website. So, Gulf Great White Shark Society. So, again, white sharks not the most common in the Gulf of Mexico because these guys like to be in warmer waters. It's a beautiful, it almost looks like an illustration, but beautiful picture of a white shark here. Let's see, Large Sharks of the Gulf of Mexico Biggest Species Guide. So, the Gulf of Mexico is home to some of the largest sharks in the world, including species that exceed 10 feet in length and move through these waters more often than many people realize. From great white sharks to tiger sharks and deep water species rarely seen, the Gulf supports a wide range of sharks tied to both coastal and offshore environments. These are the upper tier predators of the Gulf, animals built for long distance movement, high energy feeding, and in many cases seasonal migrations that connect Gulf waters to the broader Atlantic. Some are regularly encountered in offshore environments, others appear only under specific conditions, offering insight into just how connected the Gulf ecosystem is to larger ocean systems. We focus on sharks that regularly grow to 10 feet or more. While great white sharks often draw the most public attention, they are part of a broader group of large sharks that use the Gulf in in very different ways, depending on the season, prey availability, and environmental conditions. So here we go. Great white shark, or white sharks. So great white shark, Carcharodon calcareus, represents one of the most significant large shark species now being documented in the Gulf of Mexico. Long thought to be rare in the region, multiple lines of evidence, including satellite tracking, verified encounters, and documented observations, now confirm that great whites enter the Gulf, particularly during the cooler months. So, just as a fun note about white sharks, they do prefer colder water, but they kind of, at least on the east coast of the United States, it could be found almost anywhere at almost any time. They're very rare. They're very, very, very rare. Unless you're in Massachusetts, they're very rare to encounter. But what's kind of cool is that they're uniquely a little bit unpredictable in terms of where you can find them. Excuse me. So right now it's July in Virginia, so the water is probably too warm for them. So I think they're not here, and they're certainly probably not in the Gulf either. It's really, really warm right now. But throughout the rest of the year, they could be pretty much up and down the coast. 2 weeks ago, there was a white shark spotted off New Jersey. There's been, in the past month, multiple sightings in Massachusetts. And I know, like for Virginia, there's been a sighting. I want to say in June, not this year, but there was a dive at Chesapeake Life Tower that saw great white sharks, and I think that was June. There's been like Vim's caught one in April of I want to say like the early 2010s. So, but it's just random. It's just like really really random, like when they choose to show up. I do have a really great app, which I'm gonna type in the chat because it's fun to peruse. So Sharktivity by Atlantic White Shark Conservancy. So I do recommend this app. I like it better than other shark tracking apps just because it's a little bit more. Let me rephrase this. This app is not invasive, really. It's kind of more respectful of the shark's biology, and it tracks both white shark pings, but also sightings by people on the beach, and also predation events by by sharks on the seals. So I'm just checking it right now on my phone. No activity in the past 2 days, but in the past week we had one white shark ping in New Jersey, multiple white shark pings, including predation events in Massachusetts, all the way from Cape Cod to Boston, and then one white shark sighting in southern Maine. So it's a really cool app. I definitely recommend it. Sharktivity is kind of my go-to white shark map. And what's kind of fun is that throughout most of this year, it's been very quiet, but in the summer, it's starting to kind of pop off in Massachusetts. So these sharks are highly migratory and appear to move into the Gulf in connection with seasonal shifts in temperature and prey availability. Large fish such as tunas, rays, and other pelagic species likely play a role in attracting them. There's also growing evidence that great whites may have historically used the Gulf more than previously recognized, but were underreported or misidentified. So on that note, I forget which episode this was. Actually, no, I do know this episode. So this was earlier this year. It turned into a horrifying nightmare, actually. It was the North American shark culture episode that we did, which I want to say was like in March or April. And part one, again, was horrifying. They were documenting the first shark attacks in North America in the 17th century, I want to say. And it was definitely a tropical area. And I forget if it was like Florida or one of the islands, but the water temperature would be the same as the Gulf. And they were talking about this shark just showing up and terrifying the divers and actually like devouring some of them. These were like pearl divers, and and actually that's what it was. They were talking about that white sharks had a presence here in warmer water because there was the Caribbean monk seal. Caribbean monk seal is a principal prey item of white sharks in this area, and then when the monk seal went extinct, white sharks kind of moved on, and they really weren't as common anymore, which is really wild to think about as far as like the trophic relationships and like how if you change parts of a food chain, it just can affect the distribution of sharks in general. So I kind of want to look up now the Caribbean monk seal's former range, because I thought that was so fascinating that it was something that used to be in an area in warm water where white sharks predated on it. Yep, there we go. The main natural predators of Caribbean monk seals were American crocodiles. Oh, that's a great picture of American crocodile, by the way. If you didn't know it, we have a crocodile in Florida. So it's not an alligator, it's an actual legitimate crocodile. Crocodilus acutus, the American crocodile. And it lives actually in the southern part of Florida, as well as the Caribbean and Central America and a little bit of South America. So they're really cool, but kind of rare in the United States. But anyway. So American crocodiles, great white sharks, tiger sharks, and transient orca whales. Let's see. I want to see if we can... Yeah, there we go. Yep, look at that. So Caribbean monk seals used to be found in the Gulf of Mexico. Look at that. So it makes sense that, I mean, white sharks can be found here and had more of a historical presence here because there was a great prey item for them here until it went extinct, possibly or probably due to overhunting. Let's see what caused the monk seal's extinction. Let's see. Fishermen. So I think it's just hunting. The most visible factor contributing to Caribbean monk seal's demise is non-stop hunting and killing of the seals in the 18th and 19th centuries to obtain the oil held within their blubber. The insatiable demand for seal products in the Caribbean encouraged hunters to slaughter Caribbean monk seals by the hundreds. The Caribbean monk seal's docile nature and lack of flight instinct in the presence of humans made them very easy to kill. The second factor is the overfishing of the reefs that sustained the Caribbean monk seal population. With no fish or mollusks to feed on, the seals that were not killed by hunters for oil died of starvation. Surprisingly, few conservation measures were towards attempting to save the Caribbean monk seal. By the time it was placed on the endangered species list in 1967, it was likely already extinct. Unconfirmed sightings of Caribbean monk seals by local fishermen and divers are relatively common in Haiti and Jamaica, but 2 recent scientific expeditions failed to find any sign of the species. It is possible the animal is still extant, but some biologists strongly believe the sightings are of wandering hooded seals, which have been positively identified on Caribbean archipelagos such as Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. I'm actually shocked that hooded seals go down that far, so it's very sad, and it's actually really wild. I know this is kind of taking a turn, but like, it's really, this is a very sobering example of like we live in a reality where a lot of animals have gone extinct, and we live in a reality where it's impacted the natural order of things, in which white sharks used to be here in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, and they're still here, but just not as common. And it's amazing when you remove a principal prey item like this, how much of a cascading effect it will have on the rest of the wildlife. So, and it's just really incredible to think about living in a post-extinction reality with this species, or with mastodons or mammoths or dodos, or just things where, or thylacines. I mean, these are animals that have existed in the times that humans existed, and because of humans, they've been, hunted out of existence, and it just has an effect on everything. So. And weirdly enough, kind of tying it all the way back to our sharks. Where is that guide that we had? Here we go. The most successful shark species right now are the species that can kind of coexist with human pressure, which are the small ones that reproduce really quickly. So the Atlantic sharpnose shark is the species that is faring the best right now. Actually, for a deeper comparison, let's see if we'll take a look at IUCN Red List and compare all the sharks in the Gulf. So here we go. We're going to do an advanced search just to kind of see how they're doing. And I promise I'm going to get back to the sharks that we were talking about on that list. So we can find the other species, but here we go. We'll do taxonomy. Do sharks are an animal. They are chordate because they have a notochord, nerve cord. They are cartilaginous fish, their fins. And then they are rhinophores, which are ground sharks. Squaliforms, which are dogfish. Rectalobiforms are carpet sharks. Lamniforms are mackerel sharks. Squatiniforms are angel sharks. Hexantiforms are the cow and pearl sharks. Hedodontiforms are horn sharks, and Prisciophoriforms are saw sharks. And then the rest are not counted. So we're going to take a look at all the sharks here on IUCN, which will have their conservation statuses, and then we're going to take a look at marine regions. I wonder if I can just get the Gulf of Mexico. And it's not going to do that, so let's do land regions, North America, and the United States. Okay, we'll do it this way. So the Gulf states are Texas, and we'll get Louisiana, And then Alabama, or I guess Mississippi first. Mississippi, Alabama, and then Florida. Okay, so this won't be every species, but let's see. We've got tiger sharks are near threatened. These are going to be mostly Gulf species, but you have tiger sharks that are near threatened. Caribbean rough shark is okay. Greenland sharks are vulnerable. These are deep water species, deep water sharks that I don't know if they actually go into the Gulf. Hold on. Yeah, I would exclude that because that's one on the Atlantic side. Scalloped hammerheads are critically endangered. Atlantic nurse sharks are vulnerable. You have black dogfish, which is least concerned. Lantern shark, cat sharks. These deep water sharks are doing okay. Lantern sharpnose shark is doing okay. Silky sharks are vulnerable. Black nose sharks are endangered. Sand tiger shark, small tooth sand tiger shark is endangered. Rough skin dogfish. Yeah, so it looks like a lot of the deep water sharks are doing okay, but sharks that are in shallow water kind of hitting human pressure are not as well off. Let's see, other large sharks in the Gulf. Sorry, this is a fun little tangent. Just talking about like white sharks and monk seals and changes, but bull sharks are, we talked about them earlier. Bull sharks are one of the most commonly encountered large sharks in the Gulf, though individuals exceeding 10 feet represent the upper end of their size range rather than the norm. Most adult bull sharks fall slightly below that mark, but their heavy build, power, and ability to move into very shallow water make them one of the most significant sharks in nearshore Gulf environments. So great picture of a bull shark with the characteristic small eyes and broad snout. They are uniquely adapted to tolerate freshwater and are frequently found in bays, estuaries, and river systems. Bull sharks feed on fish, rays, and other sharks, often present in areas where prey concentrates, including passes, river mouths, and coastal structures. We've got tiger shark again. It's kind of cool to see that tiger sharks are cosmopolitan because they've been, I think in every regional episode we've seen tiger sharks. So it's a truly global species. Tiger sharks are one of the true giants of the Gulf and regularly exceed 10 feet in length. They are wide-ranging predators found from nearshore waters to deep offshore environments and are particularly associated with warmer water periods. Tiger sharks are opportunistic feeders with a highly varied diet that includes fish, rays, sea turtles, and carrion. Their feeding behavior makes them important in maintaining ecological balance. In the Gulf, they are frequently encountered by offshore anglers and are known to patrol areas with abundant prey. Alright, great hammerhead shark. The great hammerhead Sirenomacheron is the largest hammerhead species and a true large shark of the Gulf, commonly exceeding 10 feet. They are found throughout the region, often in inshore waters, but also moving into shallow areas, particularly where stingrays are abundant. This is kind of a sad photograph, by the way. This is a captive hammerhead in an aquarium, but you can kind of tell the cephalofoil has some really bad looking abrasions on it, and that unfortunately is a tank condition. This is, I think you could say this is fin rot or a equivalent to that. I forget what it is. It's kind of like a infection of some kind, but you actually unfortunately do see it in sharks in aquariums. There's some aquariums that do a really good job at taking care of their sharks. There's some aquariums where it's just this happens sometimes. So yeah, and just if you want to see if an aquarium is doing an okay job at taking care of its fish, look for the coloration and just the activity. So if the fish are very brightly colored, if they're very active, and if they don't have these abrasions, it's a good aquarium. But if they're moving sluggishly, if they're dull, it's a care problem. So. The cephalofoil, which is the hammerhead, enhances sensory detection, allowing them to locate prey with precision. Great hammerheads are typically solitary and are among the most powerful predators in the Gulf. Scalloped hammerhead, it's great to see photos of wild scalloped hammerhead sharks. There's a beautiful photograph here. Scalloped hammerhead Sphena lewinii can reach or exceed 10 feet, though many individuals are smaller. They are more commonly associated with offshore and deeper coastal waters and are known for forming large schools, especially as juveniles. As they mature, they tend to become more solitary. Their presence in the Gulf reflects the region's connection to broader migratory routes, particularly in deeper water environments. By the way, it's 10:30, so just so I don't forget, actually, because I'm enjoying reading about all these sharks. But if you have a suggestion for next week, please let me know in the comments below. I have a few ideas, but I want to give everybody a chance first. We can do another region of the world and talk about the sharks of that region, or we can go back to doing a learning about another species. And by the way, while we're pausing for a second, just as a reminder, we have our Shark Week banner contest. So we are going to be judging around the time of Shark Week, and the challenge is to create a YouTube banner, so an illustration, with a mystery shark in mind. And the clues to the mystery shark that we announced last week are: it's a species with a nictitating membrane, it eats marine mammals, it is the largest of its genus, and it lives in Virginia. So I'm going to put these clues back into the chat for anybody who might be working on their banner. So if you could submit the correct answer to Dr. Jaws, and I'll put this here. Dr. Jaws Sharks at Gmail is the channel's address. If it's the correct species, it will automatically move to first place. So the thing that matters the most is if the mystery shark is guessed correctly. And after that, the entries will be judged just based on the quality of the art. So good luck, everybody, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll announce more details in terms of like the due date, but it's around the time of Shark Week, and there's going to be great prizes. This year is a completely new prize. We used to do fossils for the past couple of years, but this year is going to be something completely different, involving at least 5 shark species. So we'll announce that once the contest is over. But again, good luck. Oh, hey, Tim, really cool question. Sorry, I just saw that. Have we done an episode on various hammerheads? So that's actually a cool idea. We have not, because like what's really cool is that we do have a couple individual hammerhead episodes, but we haven't really done the group as a collective. So I think that might be a cool idea to do. So I'd be down for it, to study like the family. Or how about bull sharks? Didn't you write a compendium on bull sharks? Thank you. So yes, I did actually. So what's fun is that episode 1 is on bull sharks. So I intentionally wanted to do the first episode on the shark that I knew best at the time. Just because I wrote the bull shark compendium in 2017, and it's just such a cool species with a lot of really great research, a really interesting research history. So I appreciate the suggestion because it's a really, really fun suggestion. But I think the hammerhead episode, since we already did the bull shark episode, I think an episode on hammerheads as a whole might be a lot of fun, because like they're such a cool group, and it's cool to compare them. So, and actually, what we could do, we can actually, let's see, I actually wonder if we can do an episode focused on a single hammerhead species, but use that as a starting point for talking about the family. And I actually have a great idea. I just want to make sure we haven't covered it yet. So I'm just going through the episodes that we did on Carcharodontiforms. So let's see. Alright. Going through all the Requiem sharks. Okay, so we did... Wow, we've done a lot of species actually. Okay, we did do the Carolina hammerhead, we did the winghead, we did the smalley hammerhead, great hammerhead, smooth hammerhead, bonnethead, scalloped hammerhead. We've done most of these, but I don't think we've done the mallethead shark. So, let me make sure I have this right. Okay. I'm going to check something really quick. Um, small eye hammerhead and mallet head shark. And we did the wing head, didn't we? Yes, we did. Okay. Okay. Sphena Corona is so this one gets really tricky. We did Sphena 2 days is a small eye hammerhead. Okay, that's what I wanted to check. So, okay. Let's do this. So, and actually, especially, that is a critically endangered shark. So, I think what we could do for next week is we could do the scalloped bonnet head. It's also known as the mallet head shark. And that is so confusing, isn't it? Because there's a scalloped hammerhead, there's a bonnet head, and then now there's a scalloped bonnet head, which is that's really confusing. But I think it'll be really cool to do this species as kind of like the focus. But in the episode next week, we talk about the entire family of hammerheads. So we can compare the scalloped bonnet head to the scalloped hammerhead, the great hammerhead, the smooth hammerhead, the winghead, the bonnet head, the small eye hammerhead. I think this would be actually kind of a cool launching point. So I'm going to type this in the chat. Sphena Corona, scalloped bonnet head. And larger hammerhead family discussion. Alright. So, really cool suggestion, and I think that'll be kind of a fun way to kick off next week, especially since it's a critically endangered species, so it's definitely a shark that needs a lot of conservation attention. We do have a video on the channel about critically endangered hammerheads, and I think the scalloped bonnet head does make an appearance. Oh, actually, no, let me rephrase that. It does make an appearance, because it's this species, this small eye hammerhead, and I think there's there's another small one on there, and then the great hammerhead and the scalloped hammerhead. But I think this will be a wonderful. Oh, look at the teeth! I think this will be a wonderful species to do next week, and a great launch pad for the entire family. Because just as a preview, the Sphenidae, which is the family of hammerheads, is like about 10 species. Here we go. Yeah, we've got the winghead shark, the shovelbill shark. I've never heard of that one. Scallop bonnet head, Carolina hammerhead, scalloped hammerhead, scoop head. There you go, Sphena media. Great hammerhead, bonnet head, small eye hammerhead, and smooth hammerhead. So there's quite a few of them. But that'll be really, really great to cover for next week. So. To wrap it up for tonight, we'll finish the profiles here. So we were on the scalloped hammerhead shark, and we're moving on to the lemon shark. So lemon sharks, beautiful species. They look so tough and intimidating, but they're actually pretty harmless, large sharks that occur near shore, and also like a really great warm water species. So. Lemon sharks, Negroperon brevirostris, are a common coastal species in the Gulf and are typically found in shallow nearshore waters, often around bays, estuaries, and mangrove habitats. They are easily recognized by their yellowish-brown coloration, which provides effective camouflage over sandy bottoms. Most individuals range between 7 and 10 feet in length, though larger specimens do occur. Lemon sharks are relatively slow-moving but powerful predators, feeding primarily on fish, crustaceans, and smaller sharks. They are known for their sight fidelity, often returning to the same nursery and feeding areas year after year. In the Gulf, lemon sharks are most frequently encountered in warm, shallow waters and are especially common in regions with structured coastal habitats to support abundant prey. So, great photograph of a lemon shark here, by the way. A really cool species. Oceanic white-tip sharks. I knew they were in the Gulf, so it's great to confirm that white sharks, tigers, bull sharks, and oceanic white-tips are all found in the Gulf of Mexico. And actually, most of the world has all four of. I call them the fatal four, but the four shark species that I would consider truly dangerous. They're found throughout most of the world, really, especially like tropical and subtropical areas. So. But oceanic whitetips are one of the classic open ocean sharks and historically were among the most abundant large sharks in the offshore Gulf waters. They regularly exceeded 10 feet and are built for life in pelagic environments far from shore. So, great photo of an oceanic whitetip with the characteristic white tips on the fins and also the really broadly rounded fins, too. It's really cool to see in this photograph pilot fish accompanying the oceanic whitetip shark. So, that's a really common pairing where pilot fish are waiting for the shark to eat something, and then the pilot fish will collect scraps around the shark. So it's actually really cool. I don't know if you were here for this episode, but there are some fish that will kind of swim with sharks, and the sharks actually benefit from it as a form of camouflage. So the example is sand tiger sharks. Sand tiger sharks will move very slowly and will actually use the bait ball, like fish kind of like swimming around them, as cover so they can sneak up on bigger fish. So it's actually really, really cool. Just like some shark species have like tactics like that. So I'm sure, I know pilot fish benefit a lot from white tip sharks being here. Or like being near white tip sharks. And I think white tip sharks benefit from pilot fish. I think pilot fish do pick off parasites on the shark's skin. I'm not 100% sure. But it's an interesting relationship that the two have. Their numbers have declined significantly, but they're still present in deeper Gulf waters. They are known for their bold, inquisitive behavior and among the first sharks to investigate activity in open water, particularly around fishing vessels. Dusky sharks. So it's great to see that they make an appearance. Dusky sharks, Carcharodontis obscurus, are large coastal and offshore sharks that can exceed 10 feet and are found along the Gulf's continental shelf. They favor deep water but can move into coastal areas, particularly as juveniles. So these are a good... Both dusky sharks and oceanic whitetips are good conservation poster children, just in terms of... oceanic whitetips are fished really heavily... or as bycatch really heavily. Dusky sharks have an infamously long reproductive cycle where they take a year and a half to grow, a year and a half to reproduce, and they take a year and a half long break. So it's a 3-year, it's ultimately a three-year reproductive cycle. So it's really wild. Dusky sharks grow slowly and reproduce at low rates, making them vulnerable to population decline. Their presence in the Gulf is an important indicator of ecosystem health. Closely related, we got silky sharks again. So silky sharks are common in offshore Gulf waters and can reach lengths approaching or exceeding 10 feet. They are strongly associated with pelagic environments and are often found around floating objects, offshore rigs, and areas where bait fish concentrate. So these are also some of the most photogenic species. Like they're just such beautiful sharks overall. And again, they have the characteristic smaller dorsal fin that's further back on the body. Silky sharks frequently interact with schools of tuna and have regular presence in offshore fishing zones. This is exciting. Shortfin mako shark. So we didn't see this before. Shortfin mako sharks, Isurus oxyrhynchus, are among the fastest sharks in the ocean and can exceed 10 feet in length. They are typically found in deeper offshore waters and are known for their speed, agility, and power. So really great to see mako sharks. Famously, I know it's not the Gulf, but Old Man in the Sea, which is a great story by Ernest Hemingway, and actually was turned into a beautiful animated film that I wonder if it's still on YouTube, actually. Because I think it's there illegally, but it's a gorgeous film. But it prominently features a mako shark as the main antagonist, and I think I have to look up where it's set. I want to say it's in the Florida Keys or Old Man in the Sea, unless I'm getting confused with where Hemingway himself was spending most of his time. Okay. He began writing Old Man in the Sea in Cuba. Okay. He's going into the Gulf Stream. He looks huge. Marlin and Mako Shark. So Mako Shark is the main antagonist in Old Man in the Sea. So the animated I probably can't pull it up, but there is an animated movie that is gorgeous. Let me see, Old Man in the Sea animation. Oh, it is still on YouTube. Okay, I'm not advocating for privacy, but there is a great animated film called The Old Man in the Sea. Sorry, not advocating for piracy, but there's a great animated film from 1999 called Old Man in the Sea that is completely gorgeous. And this is the animation actually. Everything is like painted on glass. It's really beautiful. It's truly incredible. I actually might watch that tonight. So anyway, Mako Sharks in Warm Waters just makes me think of that classic story. But while less commonly encountered in the Gulf compared to other regions, they are part of the broader pelagic shark community connected to the area. Now this one I am shocked by. Look at this. The porbeagle shark. I was not expecting to see a porbeagle shark in the Gulf, because this is more of a cold water species. But, yeah, here you go. Porbeagle sharks, Thanomnasus, are a cold water species closely related to great white sharks. Their presence in the Gulf of Mexico is considered rare and is typically associated with deeper, cooler offshore conditions. Their occasional appearance highlights how wide-ranging some shark species can be and how environmental conditions can influence their movements. Interesting. I was really not expecting that. Galapagos shark. Galapagos sharks, Carcharodontis galapagensis, are large, powerful sharks that can exceed 10 feet and are found in parts of the Gulf, particularly around offshore structures, reefs, and remote environments. So these sharks are interesting where they're quite rare, I want to say, just because they're more of like a true tropical species. So they don't really occur in the U.S. that much, but, they are part of fisheries management plans in the United States for sharks, just because like they are present enough for that, which is interesting. They're closely related to dusky sharks and are known for their strong investigative behavior. In the Gulf, they're often associated with oil platforms, artificial reefs, and areas where prey species are concentrated. This is exciting to see. The whale shark. And actually, I'm surprised it wasn't mentioned in some of the other articles that we're reading, because this is another true tropical species that I think there's famous locations of whale sharks in the Gulf. So, whale sharks, Rhynchodon typus, are the largest fish in the ocean and can exceed 30 feet in length, making them by far the biggest shark species found in the Gulf of Mexico. Unlike the other sharks on this list, whale sharks are filter feeders, feeding primarily on plankton, fish eggs, and small schooling fish. Despite their massive size, they are harmless to humans. Although I did have a buddy swim with whale sharks, and he got too close. I forget if it was whale sharks or basket sharks. I think it was a whale shark. He got too close to the caudal fin, and even though this is a harmless shark, it's still a very powerful animal. And the shark was just swimming, and between the strength of the tail and the dermal denticles on the fin, it left this huge cut on his leg, and he still has a scar. And it just is like the force and the abrasion of it all. So it's always good to kind of keep a little bit of distance between sharks and between yourself and sharks, even the harmless species. And it's just because it's so this one is just in particular so powerful. In the Gulf, whale sharks are most often encountered offshore, particularly during the summer months, where they're sometimes seen feeding at the surface around concentrations of bait fish or spawning events. Encounters are typically brief but memorable, often involving a single large animal moving slowly through open water. Their presence highlights the diversity of the Gulf shark population and reinforces the idea that not all large sharks are apex predators. I think we have a few more. It's kind of amazing how many large species live here, including, and this is a fantastic photograph, the blunt-nosed six-gill shark. Look at that. That is an insane photograph. Clear waters with a deep deep water species. Again, these guys get to be as large as a white shark. They're kind of like the deep water equivalent of white sharks. They're no joke. The blunt-nosed six-gill shark is one of the largest and most primitive shark species in the world, capable of exceeding 15 feet in length. In the Gulf of Mexico, six-gill sharks are associated with deep offshore environments, typically along the continental slope at depths rarely accessed by anglers or observers. Because of their deep-water habitat, they're seldom encountered or documented in the Gulf, but their presence is part of the broader offshore ecosystem. Six-gill sharks are slow-moving predators that feed on fish, squid, and carrion, and their biology reflects an ancient lineage of sharks adapted to life in low-light environments. So that's actually a really great photograph to end on, because I don't think I've ever seen this photograph before. Of that's so cool. Of blunt-nosed six-gill shark in the Gulf of Mexico. That's really cool. You can actually see the eye is starting to kind of roll back into the head a little bit, and that's actually a protective measure because I think the shark, I'm assuming, yeah, this individual was caught probably for like a research survey because I see the yellow tag here, and actually I see another tag here. So there's a yellow marker tag that helps identify this individual if it was ever recaptured, and then there is it looks like a pop-off or a pop-up satellite tag. This little yellow buoy here. So I think this individual again was caught on a research vessel, but incredible to see compared to the boat. It just really shows you the size of these animals. It was just shocking, you know. So I think this is a really great one to end on. Just yeah, amazing deep water shark. Let's see why these large sharks matter. Large sharks are essential to the health of the Gulf of Mexico. They regulate prey populations, influence ecosystem structure, and serve as indicators of ocean health. Understanding how these sharks use the Gulf, whether seasonally, offshore, or only occasionally, helps build a clearer and more accurate picture of marine environment. There's a couple frequently asked questions, so I'll just read ones that are interesting. Largest shark is whale shark. That's silly. Some large sharks are regularly present, particularly offshore, while others are rare or seasonal visitors. Encounters of large sharks are rare in the Gulf, and most species spend the majority of their time offshore, limiting interaction with people. Although there have been shark attacks in the Gulf, mostly bull sharks, I want to say. I think a few tiger sharks too, and I think maybe some great white incidents, but it's really bull sharks. Large sharks in the Gulf of Mexico are not evenly distributed and are often tied to specific habitats. Nearshore waters and passes are more likely to hold species like bull sharks, particularly where bait fish and currents concentrate prey. Offshore environments, including oil rigs, reefs, and deep water zones, are where many of the largest sharks are encountered, including tiger sharks, silky sharks, and oceanic species. Deep water areas along the continental slope hold species like six-gill sharks, rarely seen but part of the Gulf's broader ecosystem. Let's see. So yeah, really great article overall. So in summary, we talked about the blunt-nosed six-gill, the whale shark, the Galapagos shark, the porbeagle, the short-fin mako, the silky shark, the dusky shark, the oceanic white-tip, the lemon shark, the scalped hammerhead, the great hammerhead, the tiger shark, and bull shark, and white shark. So yeah, really great species diversity. Actually, I'm just breezing through this really quickly. I don't think there's anything new here on this. Yeah, I think it's just kind of repeats the same species, so I think we'll end on this graphic. And I'm going to post this in the chat so people can peruse, because this is a really good shark ID guide. Oh, thank you, Tim. I really appreciate that comment. Thank you. So, well, guys, thank you so much for watching tonight and for taking this tour of sharks of the Gulf of Mexico. That was a really cool collection of species to explore, and I actually really like how each of the articles or each of the things that we looked at had a nice like little breezy summary of each species on how to identify them and also who they are and like where they live. And I really like our segue, especially the monk seal segue, was just kind of cool to reinforce just how much the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico has changed in a lot of ways in terms of like what it used to support and kind of where we are now. And I'm glad that we touched a little bit some base on conservation, where we talked about that smaller sharks are doing great, like the Atlantic sharpnose shark. Larger species are facing more problems, especially the hammerheads. And I'm really especially grateful that we're going to draw more attention to the hammerheads next week. So we're going to cover the scalped bonnethead shark and talk about its bigger cousins as well. But scalped bonnethead, scalped hammerhead, and great hammerhead, they're all critically endangered. So I'm glad that we're going to spend some time next week on a really important group of sharks that are top of the list in terms of needing conservation help. But until then, hope everybody has a great rest of your week, and thank you so much for joining again. Really appreciate you supporting the channel. Good luck again on the Shark Week contest. So the clues are in this episode and the last episode, and I'll share more details later this week as well. But again, just take care, stay warm, or stay cool, not warm. It's really hot right now. Stay cool, and I will see you next week. But have a good night, and cheers, everybody. Bye.